Hello, amazing business owners. Give me one moment because I still have to set up the back end of this live stream. Today we're going to be talking about inclusive and ethical list growth. Why are you not allowing me to press that button? Copy. That is really strange. Okay, well, Instagram may not get me today because it's not actually allowing me to. Am I live? Am I really live? Okay, let's have a look. It says that I'm live on my Facebook. Yep, and I've got sound. Amazing. Let's flip over now to Instagram because apparently I'm live there too. If you're watching, thank you for your patience. No, it's not working. That is absolutely okay. We're just not able to do that. That's all right. We are here with you on Facebook and on YouTube for now. Let's get into it, shall we? We wasted enough time. So what we're going to do is we are going to be talking about, as I said, inclusive and ethical email list growth. So I'm going to be sharing some frequently asked questions that business owners have about having inclusive and ethical list growth. If you're watching this at any time where you have a question, please feel free to pop it in the comments. I will either come back and answer it later, or if you're here with me live, I will answer it on the live stream as well. It's doing some strange things on the back end here, sorry. So I'm going to open up my phone just in case there are comments coming through that I'm not actually aware of. So I just like to do that just in case I can't see them. Okay, so let's start off with an acknowledgement of country. With so much respect, gratitude, and coming straight from my heart as a Warawara Noongar Aboriginal woman, I would like to acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional and ongoing custodians of the lands and waters of which I'm joining you from. I am deeply, deeply appreciative of the custodial role that they fulfill here, they have fulfilled here, they are fulfilling here, and will always fulfill here. And I would also like to pay respects to the Whadjuk elders and thank them for all their love, for their community guidance and leadership, and everything that they do. They are absolutely amazing. I'd like to extend out an acknowledgement to the custodians of the lands you are on as well, and pay respects to the elders there in whatever title they refer to themselves on those lands. Now, if you're watching along, please feel free to jump in the comments and add your own acknowledgement to the custodians of the land you're on, or just let me know what Aboriginal or Indigenous lands you're joining me from. It's always nice to connect in those ways and see how we're actually connected and joining with each other. It's really an interesting thing. Technology has an amazing way of doing that with us. Okay, let's move into the first question. I have a little bit of my tickle in my throat, so I'll need to have a few sips. But let's have a look at the first question. I don't want to rely on scarcity tactics, but then how do I get people to sign up? Now, I know in traditional list building, email list building, there are a lot of coaches, there are a lot of programs, there is a lot of advice out there that tells you need to have some kind of urgency or provide some kind of scarcity to make people purchase. That is the thing that's going to flip them from not making a purchase or not becoming a client or subscribing into subscribing. Now, creating scarcity for the sake of creating scarcity and getting people to join your list is an unethical thing to do, because you are putting those people in a state where they feel like they have to do it without having like an informed consent to do it. They aren't given all the information, and it is really misleading because that scarcity or urgency doesn't actually really exist. So a good thing to understand is sometimes we do actually have a scarcity in terms, or an urgency for them to do something in particular. For instance, they might want to join up before you deliver some training live, because they might want to be on that training live. And a lot of us who are in the online space know how powerful being present live really is. So there might be that push to, well, quickly, you need to get on. If you do want to be live, that's where you do it. So that's the way you can do it without having any kind of manipulation. It's actually a real time sensitive thing to do that particular action. But we don't want to be creating it out of nothing or creating it as if it's not real. Another, so sometimes I've seen some webinars and they've used that kind of rhetoric that you better jump on quickly because the next one's starting soon. And then once you've joined up and you've jumped on, just say like the webinar that you've had to sign up to their email list for to receive, and then you jump on, you soon realize that they're actually lying to you, that it's scheduled to keep going and going. So you're not going to miss it. It's always happening. And things like making sure you have to stay and watch the whole thing because you're going to miss out on something at the end. So having those kinds of scarcity tactics, they are unethical, they are manipulative, and we can do business without them. We don't actually have to be creating the scarcity out of nothingness. We can create it based on a real urgency or a real time sensitive thing. And that can help people jump into them. But what I do want to say in this part, if you don't want to rely on scarcity tactics, the thing is you need to be focused more on what values you are sharing with those people, and also look at what's the actual thing that they're having a problem with. If they're experiencing a problem with something and you are talking directly to them and showing them that you understand what they're going through and you have something that can help them with that particular problem, they don't need to have things like scarcity to be able to sign up, because if the problem is annoying or frustrating them enough or disturbing their peace or life enough, they will sign up straight away. So having this concept or idea that scarcity needs to be fabricated is an old school, real pressure, like sleazy salesman kind of tactic that we can let go now. We don't actually need to do that anymore. We can now focus, okay, this is your ideal client, this is your niche, this is the person you're here to help. Focusing on them, what they actually need, and recognizing that you don't have to make it urgent for them. It's already urgent if it's a big enough problem for them. So they will sign up to your email list if they are at that point where they do know that they need external support, and that's where you can come in. If you have any questions about that, let me know. And again, if you have any questions throughout this live, let me know. Pop it in the comments section and I can answer them. Okay, let me just scroll down here. So the next question is, how do I attract more marginalized people without it feeling extractive? So by extractive, I mean that you're just taking from that community, or like I'm using them to look good. So that's part of that performative kind of inclusivity. So one way that you can make sure that you're not doing anything that is extractive and that you aren't doing anything that is performative. So we're not talking about so it's not tokenistic, it's not performative, it's not extractive, is making sure that you are inclusive, not just on that marketing front, you are inclusive on the inside of your business as well. So it's about you looking at your unconscious biases. What could be coming up for you around each of those different communities? Do you have assumptions and stereotypes that pop up in your mind when you think about those different marginalized communities? So it's about looking at those unconscious biases and either, no, I'm not going to share it in that way because that's how I do my unconscious bias workshops. But we need to address them. If they are harmful, we need to look at changing or reframing them. If they are incorrect, we need to look at changing them or reframing them, but also doing it without shame or guilt, because this is something that this system of oppression, it's a whole system that has been built into our society to build certain beliefs and stories and ideas and stereotypes about different marginalized communities. So we have been constantly bombarded with these stories and stereotypes that aren't real, that aren't true, that are trying to make marginalized people more marginalized, to oppress them, to separate them, to make them other or less than. That's happening all the time. So if we have them, it doesn't mean we consciously created them. It doesn't mean we consciously believe in them, but we may still have them under our conscious mind. There might be subconscious things that come up for us, and that they can encourage us or make us act in certain ways, say things in certain ways, think about different communities in different ways. So doing that, unpacking your bias. Also looking at your privilege. How are you privileged? Actually looking at what are your privileges in comparison to other marginalized communities. Where do you sit on all of those different privilege scales? And recognizing, okay, so as a privileged person, I may not understand what it's like to be living in this marginalized person's experience. And with that understanding of where you sit in terms of your privilege, you can then start to go, okay, well, if I'm privileged in this sector, I definitely need to seek out and find people from marginalized communities who may be like content creators or maybe teachers or business owners, consultants, all those types of things. I need to go and actually listen to what they're experiencing, what their lived experience is, some of the problems they're experiencing, what are the solutions they think are for them and their community, listening to all those kinds of things. So it's making sure you are not sitting there going, I'm this person and I want to help all these people, but I'm not going to actually take the time to listen to those communities. I have all the solutions. They just need to come and follow me. This is a problem. They need to just listen to what I'm offering without having any consideration of actually listening to that community and considering whether the thing you're offering is something that's actually going to be helpful to them or not, or whether you are trying to inject like your solution into an area that might not even be a problem in those communities. So really listening and learning from marginalized communities can really help, and making sure the things that you learn are also woven throughout your business. So it's things like making sure that you have policies and guidelines, community guidelines, all those kinds of things that have things like discrimination, anti-discrimination policies, anything like anti-racism policies, and all those kinds of things that are going to have consequences for anyone who interacts with you or your business spaces who is going to engage in that kind of conduct. Making sure you have procedures of if some form of discrimination happens to a marginalized person in your community, what are the actions that you are going to take? Really setting it up. Then you also have a look at what are the services or programs that you're offering, and considering, okay, well, I have these kinds of skills. These are the kinds of programs or offerings that I have. If you've already created them, sometimes you need to have a look at those marginalized communities and go, okay, what pieces are missing? What is it that they actually need? How do they need their access to be? What are their needs in the program? What are their needs in terms of different kinds of supports? all that kind of stuff, and embed it into those services and programs to make sure they are cared for and accounted for. And then you also, if you have a program that isn't created yet, but you have an idea or a thought for a service that you might like to do, start with doing the research in those communities first. It's market research. So you're doing the market research because people who are in your niche are also people who are marginalized. So making sure you're listening to those people. What do they need? How do they need it? Is there any other accommodations that need to be considered? Are there any cultural aspects to it? Is there any kind of inclusive language that I need to consider? And then you can start formulating those services and programs that actually are useful and appropriate and feel safe and welcoming for marginalized people to come into. And this will come through all of your business. So it's not just like this is just part of one thing. Inclusion is a way of doing business. So it is part of everything. It's not an add-on. So if you are making sure in your copy, in your services, any kind of marketing that you're doing in your programs, all those kinds of things, inclusion is woven through the whole lot. This is something that will encourage people to join your email list. And making sure you're giving back. Always give back. Okay, let's move over to the next question. What do I actually say in my lead magnet or opt-in to make it relevant and inclusive? Well, this comes back again to listening to those marginalized communities. They will tell you what they need. They'll tell you what the problems are. So if you are creating your copy and your marketing material in a way that also answers those problems, that also talks in the way that they talk about it, because in different communities, in different cultures, we have different ways of expressing the same kind of thing. So making sure the language that that community is using is also utilized in your marketing to make them know you've been listening. You're not just here trying to be a savior or anything like that. You've been listening to them and you've listened to their kinds of language. And so therefore, you more likely have something that is inclusive. You more likely have a solution that is going to be beneficial and helpful to those communities. So that can really help make it relevant and inclusive. But it doesn't have to be in every single piece of copy. This is a thing. You have like a whole ecosystem of content that you create. So you can have one type of content, one content that goes out that focuses on, I don't know, the disability community, one piece of content that goes out about the Aboriginal community, one that goes out for a different type of community. So it will all add up. When you're creating your content and you're talking to those different communities, you're not just talking like blanket, because this is a problem that I see a lot of the time, is people try to do blanket invitations to people to come and join their lists. They're not mentioning their value systems. They're not mentioning how it is going to be beneficial or useful for different communities of people. And then it's kind of blah. It kind of is, it doesn't say anything to anyone because it doesn't resonate enough to convince them that you know them enough to be able to help them and support them. It gives them no green flags in regards to you being inclusive, to you have been doing the work in terms of your unconscious biases, in terms of unpacking your privilege, in terms of just listening to those different communities. There is no evidence of that. So if there is no evidence that you are showing in any of your marketing that you are doing the work behind the scenes and you are considering those marginalized communities and their needs, they will not join, nor would you. If there was someone marketing something to you and it was vaguely relevant, but it wasn't that great, you wouldn't sign up either. So it's the same kind of thing. All right, let's move over to the next one. How do I make sure my content doesn't accidentally cause harm or exclude people? So something I want to talk about first of all is you have a niche. You're not here to serve everyone. And I know that can be hard for people to hear because you're so loving and you have such a big heart and you really believe in your modality or your program or your service that you offer or your gifts and skills. You really believe in them. I believe in them too. But you're not here for everyone. So if you get out of your mind, I'm here for every single person in the world, because you're just not. And it's something that can be really powerful to understand. You're here for certain people who need your certain type of energy, your certain way that you do your business, your certain services or problems that you solve, and the certain types of solutions that you offer, the transformations that you offer. That is a niche. Regardless of whether you say you have a niche or not, you do have a niche. If you didn't have a niche, everyone would be working with you. And to have a niche is not exclusive. To have a niche is to recognize, I'm not here, I'm not a savior for everyone. I'm here with a particular role, a particular mission to fulfill, a particular purpose to fulfill. And there are certain people who I'm here to support and help. When you recognize that, then that's when you can go really deep with listening and learning from those marginalized communities. You can go deeper with the nuances that your work has and the different life experiences that each of those marginalized communities are experiencing. You can talk to those things. You can share how you understand them. Excuse me. You can share how you understand them, and you can share that transformation that they want, because there is an outcome they want. It is linked with a certain value. So you sharing your certain values helps link in with the things that they want. When you're talking about the lived experiences that they may be going to, that's something else that makes them go, yeah, I think they might get what I mean. And then when you invite them in, it is in a way that they can feel you've recognized that marginalized communities are going to be in your space, and you are doing the work behind the scenes to make sure that space is prepped and ready and inclusive for them. That can be really, really helpful. Okay, if you've got any questions as I'm talking along, please feel free to add them in. Hi, Alan. Um, do I realize I was just talking to no one? Yes, I do realize, but however, video is amazing, and it goes out to my email list, and it will often have comments come after. Is this a live? Blink twice if it's yes. There you go. I'm here. Blink twice. Oh, goodness me. Thank you so much, Alan, for that comedic relief. Okay, in terms of accidentally causing harm, here's the thing. With inclusion, you're going to make mistakes. Every single person makes mistakes. I do this every single day and I still make mistakes. What the best way to approach this is, okay, rather than going out and being big and bold and leaping into this whole world of inclusion and really trying to state that your space is safe and inclusive, let's just nudge just a toe over and start being more. Start looking at the kind of language that you're using. Then you can go a little bit more. Okay, let's look at some of your lead magnets. Okay, and do an audit. If I was an Aboriginal person, is there something cultural that might not be appropriate in this lead magnet for them? If I was part of a physical disability community, is there something in my lead magnet that they aren't able to do? if they were part of the disability community, which is an invisible disability, is there something else that they require in order to complete this thing this transformation I've done, this lead magnet? Asking those kinds of questions, and then adjust. It's little by little, step by step. We don't want you to go into a full run, because when you go into a full run, when you are doing inclusion, you haven't had the time or the space to really audit, assess, reflect, and especially listen and learn from marginalized communities. That is when you enter into a space where you can cause great harm to people. Also, if you have a particular aversion or resistance to people telling you, hey, this is actually harmful, and you feel like you might want to double down, you feel like you might be really defensive, maybe work on that first. Because if people are coming to you and saying, hey, this is probably harmful to this particular marginalized community, you need to be so committed to inclusion that you are willing to go, okay, let me take a step back, let me assess it, let me reflect on this, let me ask some questions and just see how it is fitting with those marginalized communities. And then you can respond. And usually that response is, I'm sorry. I see now that I have done this. I see now that it has caused this harm. I have learnt this through people letting me know that this is harmful. And from this point forward, I will not do it because I can now see how I've done a mistake. If you're not ready to be able to do that, then you're not quite ready at the space to be openly inviting marginalized people to come into your space. But it's something we can work on. You're not ready yet. So that's something you can certainly work on. And just knowing that you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes, because this idea or concept of not making mistakes is something that is part of that oppressive system. It's a system that tells you that you can never be wrong. You always have to be right. And you have to basically fight to the, to prove that you're right, even if you're not. So, with that in mind, we don't have to participate in that system. We're human beings. It's okay for us to get things wrong. It's okay for us to misstep. What really matters is the response, the redirection, the adjustment, the apology, the redress that happens afterwards. So if you make a mistake, that's not the end of the story. The end of the story is in how you respond and continue your business. So making a mistake is totally okay, and it is totally understood that you make mistakes. Okay, next question. I didn't want this to be too long, but obviously it is quite long. What if I build my list, but nobody from marginalized community signs up? If this is the case for you, and you would really love and you value marginalized communities, and you want them to feel like it's a warm, loving, welcoming space for them to be, you not having any marginalized community sign-ups is evidence that maybe you aren't considering their lived experiences, maybe you aren't using inclusive language, maybe there is no form of representation of different communities in your marketing. There's essentially no indicators that your space is inclusive. And it might be great. It might be a wonderful lead magnet that you have, or wonderful services that you have, or a wonderful newsletter that you have. But having a wonderful newsletter or a wonderful freebie doesn't directly translate into this marginalized community needs it. And often what you'll find is that people from different communities, marginalized communities outside of your own, will require a deeper level of trust before they sign up to those things. So you need to be making sure that it's showing up in every facet of your business, because again, inclusion is a way of business. It is a type of business, the way we actually do everything in business. It's not an add-on. It's not a tack on the end. If it feels like it's a tack on the end, that's when you're stepping into tokenism. That's when you're stepping into what's it called? Performativism. Okay, so just think about those kinds of things and how you're feeling about inclusion. Now, if you are still unsure what that actually looks like, then if inclusion is part of every part of your business, every aspect, you're not sure what that actually looks like in a tangible, practical kind of way, let me know, pop it in the comments, let's talk it through, because I can talk you through every aspect of business. There is a part of it must be inclusive. Okay, next one is it ethical to build an email list at all? Now, this is a great question, particularly because this is a traditional form of connection with people. Email marketing is an older form, traditional form of marketing. So there's the question, is this ethical to actually do it at all? Well, the thing about email list building, email list marketing, it's a tool, right? It's not anything other than a tool. What matters is how you're actually going to use it. So are you going to attract people onto your list purely with the intention of extracting from them? You just want to get more and more money from them. You just want to take. Then yes, unethical, because they're whole human beings. However, on the flip side, if you have an email list where it is something that you know is going to add value to those people's lives, it is considerate of their needs, desires, and wants. Is it something that is going to regularly give them invitations to solve the problems that they are experiencing in their life? Is it going to be something that is educational for them, something that makes them feel better when they read it? Is it something that's going to build a community where they feel like they are part of a community by being on your email list? Then no, it's not unethical. It is literally a way of building a community around certain values that you and your business have, and having certain supporting people with certain problems, certain challenges, and helping them through to get to a transformation, to get to a better life. So that is not unethical in any way to build a community. It's a tool to do that. Okay, that's all of the questions that I have. Again, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments and I'll come back and answer them. Now, I do want to share with you, if you are interested, this is an invitation. I have a free webinar coming up, and it is on how to attract aligned clients to your email list. So this is one that's going to be really based in inclusion. It's going to be based in consent, and it's also going to be ethical. So no scarcity tactics, no FOMO kind of things that you're going to make people feel like they're missing out. It's nothing like rubbing salt into wounds or making their problems really exacerbated and big, and like they're not going to survive if they don't sort this out right now. It's going to be one that really, really hones in and focuses on what values you have, what values the community has, what kind of outcomes they want. Looking at, okay, what are the lived experiences of these different communities? And is your lead magnet something that they want, they need, and will actually help them through that transformation journey? So it's going to be no manipulation involved in it. And if you would like to join, I might just pop the link into the comments if you would like to join. So this is a free webinar that's coming out on the 23rd where are we? 23rd. Yes, 23rd of June 2025. Free webinar. There you go. I can't type and talk at the same time. You should have that in the comments now if you would like to join that. I would love, love, love to support you in growing your email list in an ethical, consent-based and inclusive way. So I'd love to see you there. Now, let me just head back over to, that's all I have to share with you today. I want to say thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for joining me, and make sure if you're not already following me, if you want more tips, if you want more information and you want to know how to actually create, build, scale a business that is inclusive, make sure you follow me because that's my jam. All right, that's all for now. Thank you so much if you've made it so far. Sending you so much love. And bye for now.